Welcome to EGO NetCast. I am Martin Lindeskog. Hi, Rozalla and Jonathan.
Hi, Martin. How are you?
I'm fine. And yourself?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, great. And Jonathan?
I'm very well, yes, thank you.
Great. So, what are you thinking about, both of you? You're magnificent. So, what do you think about?
Well,
at this moment?
I'm obviously, we're living through lockdown, so
Yeah.
I guess that's at the forefront of people's minds and how our lives have been changed by all this unprecedented world that we're living through. But it is what it is, and we're taking one day at a time. And in the midst of all that, myself and my record label, we decided to release Magnificent 2 weeks ago now, and I am at home, promoting it and doing radio interviews, radio interviews as well, and yeah, it's keeping me busy.
Great. And you, Jonathan, you reached out to me through a direct message on Twitter after I have added that on my Apple Music list there. And you sent me a message and asked if I wanted to talk to Rozalla. And that's an honor to be able to do that. So thanks, Jonathan, to reach out.
You're welcome.
And use social media in a great way, because that's what I am. I'm a new media advisor. So it's funny how this could work for you.
Yeah, I'm not very technical myself, really.
I'm not either, but I use as tools. So, yeah.
I don't think I am too.
my other half works in IT. My day job is working at the hospital in rheumatology as a clerical officer. So obviously things at the moment, as you can understand, are very tense and quite stressful. Aside from the people on the front line, you've got all the people who are behind the scenes as well, who are really striving to make ends meet and make sure people get the correct treatment and get seen as and when they should be.
Yeah.
Then obviously my other hobbies and interests, aside from acting, are promoting Rozalla, who I met 5 years ago on a music video called If You Say It Again. I played the hotel bellboy, carrying her luggage to the hotel room. Behind the scenes, we kind of just hit it off straight away, and remained in contact. And then we've done a few other little bits since then. And yeah, I just set up the fan pages and started promoting the music off my own accord. And when the previous single, Turn on the Light, was starting to take off promotion-wise, I started plugging it to just off my own accord to random stations. And I think probably about 500 stations globally played the track, which was overwhelming. And then from there, the label suggested that I jump on board and start helping out promoting other artists as well, and then also Rozalla with the new stuff. So yeah,
great.
So
Congratulations.
Jonathan is now part of the Energized family, because Gary thought, he did such an excellent job on promoting Turn on the Light, and he's like, he has to be on board. So yeah, he's one of us now.
Great.
He's one of the Energized.
Not getting away.
Yeah, is he the Energized Bunny then, or making it happening there, like the Duracell? Yeah, that's great. So how long have you had this record label, Rozalla? And I like the symbol, the atom symbol there, and the individual.
Yeah. I've been with Energize, I would say maybe 2 years now. It's still new, or maybe just about 2 years or a little over 2 years, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you call that like an indie label then? Like back in the day, the small labels like Cherry Records and other things like that?
Probably, most likely, because, Gary has his daytime job, and him and his partner Dave have been running Energize coming on to 25 years, and they do it themselves. They do it. Yeah. They have an office at their house where they do it from, and it's been, just a small label, and they've got quite a few artists on, and it's been successful. it's really working well, and I'm just so proud to be a part of it.
It's a bit fun when it's like going full circle. I remember back in the day when I was visiting London in the early days and went like to, what was it? Like an old record shop out there in the suburb somewhere. And I remember some independent records that I wanted to get, like a synth and electronic music. And then you had e-fanzines and this mail order. And it's still that now, but now we could use technology and the tools and the internet. And I think
Yeah.
you are doing it in a splendid way. You're
Thank
both like
you.
professional and personal. Because I could
Thank
see
you,
the
Martin.
challenge of the so-called big artists, that they have a whole staff, but maybe they are not really connected with the listeners,
Yeah.
with the fans, with the buyers. It could be
Yeah,
maybe a
exactly.
bit hinder there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So this way we are connected with our fans. One of the things I enjoy about, for instance, my social media, I can be in touch with my fans straight away, there and then. On Instagram, we have chats. We can even send each other voice notes on Instagram, even on Twitter or Facebook, and it's been great so far. So good.
Yeah. And you have done like Facebook live sessions also. I saw that you were, was it like out in the garden or in some outdoor place when you were singing along?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was it was actually outside my back garden, and it was for a festival called Let's Rock. I had about 7 or 8 dates to do with them, and they have anywhere between 10 to 25,000 people. And of course, unfortunately, with the COVID-19, they've had to postpone some of the dates to 2021. And they thought, because one of the organizers, his child sadly passed away,
Oh.
and it was, yeah, and it was for a charity called Child Bereavement. And during this COVID-19, this child bereavement charity lost £1 million.
Hmm.
So they wanted to raise money to put towards that, and so they asked all the artists that were performing and or were going to perform on the Let's Rock festivals this year to do a song, 1 or 2 or 3 songs. And they asked me, and I thought, why not? But it's not something I really wanted to do, not only for Let's Rock, just in general. I've been getting asked to perform one of my songs. And my only reason being is I don't have the right sound system at home. It could come out sounding really awful, and I wasn't sure about that. And I've been refusing to do Everybody's Free because I don't think the lyrics are, the right type of lyrics for what we're currently living through. I think the lyrics are perfect for when the
When
lockdown
we
is
are
lifted
free.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
when
You're
we're all
right.
free. So it just didn't sit well with me. So and fortunately most of the promoters and whoever asked me just completely understood. So we thought, how about faith and the power of love? Because faith and love are 2 strong words. Despite whatever we're going through, you got to have faith and you got to love and just keep moving forward. So we decided to do faith and the power of love. And Darren Short said, look, just film it in wherever you want to. Get your husband to film it. Put some earphones on so only you can hear the music. And then send me the video and send me the backing track. And then he did some things to it and just lifted it and just made it sound so much better. And that's what you saw on Saturday for the Let's Rock Child's Bereavement Charity. And they raised £130,000 in a matter
Wow.
of 4 hours.
Hmm.
And about across the board, we had about 2 million people that watched this event.
Oh, that's impressive. And talking
Yeah,
about festivals, I saw when I did a search, because we will have that as a segment, because you have, as other big artists, you have that you have your first name as your name, so to speak. It's Rozalla Miller in full,
yeah.
but the artist name is Rozalla. And when I did a search there on Google, I get an impressive of 400,000 hits of you,
Really?
so that's fascinating. And one of the hits
Wow.
was here, and then of course it's depending on where you're searching from. So when I search from here from Gothenburg, Sweden, one of
Yeah,
the hits on the results there on the first page is Tixter. That's a ticket service provider. And they
right.
said they will have a festival there about the 90s music in July in Gothenburg. But what's the status of that? Will you come to Gothenburg, Sweden in July?
Oh my goodness. Well, like I said, Martin, quite a few of my dates have been postponed to 2021. There's still some dates in my diary, and the promoters are waiting to see what the government will do before they postpone them. So honestly, whatever dates I have in July are still holding, and they're just still waiting to see what will happen. So that's all I can say.
Okay.
I hope it will. I hope it will. I mean, I'm missing performing. I'm missing going out there and, singing for my fans. But, you got to do the right thing and follow the right rules and regulations.
Yeah. And right here in Sweden, I think it's maximum 50 people attendance, and you have to be like 1 meter or 2 meters between.
How is that going to work?
Yeah. I don't know, but we will see. And
we'll see.
What's
it's just a waiting game. It's a waiting game. Yeah.
So when I did this search, one of your videos was popping up, and that's what I did on my Apple Music account also. I saw some of your videos, the spotlight there, and I liked that video it was like almost like an impromptu at the end there when the light going off, and some of course nostalgic with this everybody's free and fly with me and so on. So, because some of these, and we could joke, we will not talk about our age, Rozalla, but back in the day, the MTV TV and so on, when you saw these songs, maybe we didn't see all of them back in the day. It was later on, and then it's resurfaced on the net, so you get these nostalgic memories, and that's fascinating, I think.
Absolutely, and my husband says to me, you're very lucky to be living in the times you're living in with the internet and social media, because, fans can go in and just type a name of whoever they want to see and it pops up. So that's a good thing.
And we knew how it was before internet. I don't know about you, Jonathan, but you are, you was born and working before the internet also, right?
Yeah. As I say, I've never really been one for modern technology, and even when I was at school, I wasn't particularly great with computers or anything like that. And it's only probably in the past 2 years that I've had a phone where I can actually talk to people via some form of video format, or like Rozalla was quite impressed last week that I'd finally got WhatsApp.
I'm still shocked. My jaw hit the floor. Honestly, I was like, I've been telling him, get on WhatsApp, because, if you don't want to speak one-to-one and you just want to send a voice note or send videos, I love WhatsApp. And he took like 5 years.
That's no worries.
I've known him.
I was pretty late in the game also. And as you know, now it's owned by Facebook, so they are independent, but they will still have the support there. And you talked about your husband there, and that's also one result in Wikipedia. Of course, they have a listing, and also in the Internet Movie Database. And I've seen that he retweeted about how many years it was one of your songs and so on. So it's fascinating. And I didn't know that you had participated and acted in movies, because one of the versions of your songs, it was this UK version, and then it was movie clips. And I wonder, what kind of movie is that? Could you tell a bit about that with Pacino?
Oh my gosh! Oh well, I Love Music was used on the Carlito's Way, which was the Al Pacino movie, and Sean Penn. And at the time, I was signed to Sony, and I got to working with Jelly Bean, who from Madonna, and they flew me down to New York to record I Love Music, which was for the soundtrack Carlito's Way. And I got to meet Al Pacino, and I was asked to perform at the premiere in New York, which was just absolutely fascinating for me. Just wonderful, wonderful.
That's great, and that's what the result I saw when I did the alternative search engine DuckDuckGo. That's for privacy.
Yeah.
Then I saw this Internet Movie Database and learned about that movie. So I will watch that.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
And then I saw Last FM, that was like an old site also for music stations and so on. So they had a profile on you and some of the photos and tracks and so on. and also
Goodness me.
all music. So that was the difference between DuckDuckGo and Google. But coming back to that, could you tell a little bit more about your work with, especially with the new song, and also how you could promote this to reach out to the fans and so on? Bandcamp is one source, I think. I recently then added that to my compilation, to the collection,
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
could see other fans and other individuals that have bought the records, digital or physical. So I think that's pretty neat way of doing it. So please
Yeah.
chime in here, Jonathan and Rozalla. What's your thinking about that?
Well, I mean, I'm going by what Energize have put out the single to get. I know, like for instance, you can listen to it on Spotify. It's available from Bandcamp, as you mentioned earlier, on Amazon, on iTunes. So it's available on quite a few good online retailers. What do you say, Jonathan?
I totally agree.
That's good. And Jonathan,
150%.
yeah, because you, as I said, reached out to me, and then you sent me an email with links with MP3 files. And for the record, it would be great to play some of the songs here. But as you know, this podcast will be, for example, distributed through Spotify. And if they hear music, they could have an issue with that, even if I would have permission from you. So I will
Oh,
link with to SoundCloud, to Bandcamp, and also to my playlist and so on.
yes,
And I
yes,
advise listeners to go out and buy the records in that format that you want. But
yes,
that's the
yes,
thing with music on a podcast. And I am for protecting the property rights of the artists. So that's why I, for example,
yeah,
like Apple Music, because I know that they are paying good money to the artists there. So, yeah, so you could tell a bit. You sent me, I think it was 10 different versions of your latest single, and I would joke about now. It's a bit hard word to say, but it's a nice word. So magnificent, and in
yeah,
Swedish
magnificent.
you could say magnifique. And now you
Oh,
will have
magnificent.
some fun word here, because from Gothenburg we have slang called fik is like a coffee place. So it was a
Yeah.
coffee place here in Gothenburg called Magnifique, like magnificent. So, but it's a bit like local humor, so it could be hard to get follow along. But when you send 10 different ones, and when I try to compare it with the extended play, like EP, what we say, and then the album, like 5 songs. So could you tell me about the songs that you send, Jonathan, and the songs that you could buy? Because it was one song there, I think it was a disco edit or something like that I couldn't see online, but I got it as an email. So please go through some of the versions here and your thoughts about and how you have worked with that, because that's fascinating for me as a lay person.
Yeah, there's probably, as I say, around about 7 to 10 different mixes of the track.
Mm-hmm.
And each one has its own like unique like sound, and they all sort of like will appeal to various different people. As we were saying earlier on, not everybody is into the same style of music. So one person may like the disco edit, another person may like the new house edit or the club edit, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So my particular favorite is the retro tech mix, which there's a video on YouTube of that, which Rozalla's good friends created.
Ash Stanley, yeah.
Ash Stanley, yeah, and he's such a really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
And the one of my other favorite mixes is the is it the Brothers in House?
Yeah, I love the Brothers House. I love the Brothers House.
And
Yeah.
Sagra, is it Sagra L remix or something?
I'm still yet to listen to the Sagra L. I'm hearing good things about it. There's just so many mixes.
Yeah, and I listened to all of them, that both that I got from you by email and on Apple Music, and that could be a thing. Now I interrupted you, Jonathan. You have different services and different things, and it's that what I think also the legal things about it. Because, for example, I've seen music that I can't play from where I'm located, and then you could play it on other places in the world. So, and maybe Apple Music, maybe not first on it every time. For example, that video that I haven't seen there yet, but I seen this on the Spotlight. That was the latest one as a video, and I liked to watch that also. Because they had a service before called like that you could connect directly to the artist, but they don't have that anymore. But as you said, Spotify have been pretty great at that, working on building lists and reaching out to the fans and so on. So yeah, so it's great to see but how do you come about this song, Rozalla? How is the process when you're coming up with something like that?
Yeah, well, Gary sent me a few demos of songs, because I've got an album that'll be coming out. Maybe, I'm not too sure. I don't really want to say, but on that album is Turn on the Light, which did well last year, and off the album we've just taken off Magnificent. So I've been looking for songs, and Gary's been looking for songs for me, and he sent me quite a few songs, and in that package was Magnificent, which was written by Charlie Mason and John Matthews, and I loved it. And I told Gary, I can hear this song, I can sing this, and I can hear things happening. And usually also when you given a song, you sing it well if you love it. And then the other important factor of it is mixes. So I think Matt Pop did an amazing mix, and that's why we chose that one as the official mix. And then, of course, the other mixes have also come back, and I'm still listening to them. I love like Jonathan said, the retro tech mix I love, the Brothers in House mix I love. I just keep listening to those over and over again. So the other mixes I'm still yet to listen to, but Gary, I trust his ears and his eyes, and he normally sends me mixes and asks me, what do you think of this? And, I say yes or I say no. But yeah, so that's how Magnificent came about.
Mm. And it's funny, again, how the full circle is coming now with the technology. Because back in the day, again, when you went to a record store and bought these vinyl records, then often you had this special extended play and the mixes of popular artists. I remember that I talked to James Knight when I interviewed him. We talked about, for example, the group Art of Noise. And that was like an electronic synth, a bit avant-garde or special group, but they did often lots of mixes. So that was fun to do. Of course, if you are a fan, that could be also that your collection is growing, and so
it's getting too much.
Now, you said it, but right now, I mean, when you subscribe to Spotify or Apple Music for like $10 or something like that per month, I mean, that could cost a regular vinyl could. I don't remember how much it was now, but I mean, one record could cost that, and now you could play all kind of music for a month. So it's
that's
right. But then, of course, we could debate how is the sound quality, how is the feeling, because I remember when I watched this last FM site, and then I saw some photos of you. I remember the booklet in the CD. With you had this outfit it's almost like not a rocket or space, but it was this golden thing with some pockets and other things like that. And you had some other things also. And when I saw that photo online, I got these memories from this booklet. So it was something with the booklet or the album cover back in the day.
Yeah.
So, and what's your reflection on this now, Rozalla? 30 years as a singer and an artist and an actor.
Well,
and an entrepreneur.
An entrepreneur, all these things. Wow. Things move on. Life moves on. The music industry has changed. I still think it's a tough industry, but also in some ways with the internet and having the technology we've had, if you've got producers or young and upcoming musicians, They can buy their own little equipment and record themselves at home and put it out on YouTube and put it out on, the internet themselves without the need of going through a record label. And I think most big record labels or small ones are maybe getting their artists that way because these new upcoming artists have already plugged themselves online, and then the job has been done for the record label. So then they want to know and sign you up and snap you up. But, it is what it is. And here we are.
And I mean, I want to focus on the positive things, but now when we're talking, I was thinking on Davichi and his career and tragically what's happened with his life, ending his life there. But I saw the documentary and how he started, and he put that on some bulletin board, and at first nobody was listened to it or liked it, but then something happened. And then overnight, so that, I mean, it could be, as you said, a tough, and it could be pretty rough for the artists.
Yeah, exactly.
And also lots of responsibility for the record labels. And then, of course, you have the listeners that have opinions about the whole thing.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but I still see positive things about it for the future.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So do I.
And you have one thing there, you said that before, you love music, I love music. And it was nice tune there to the movie. So, yeah. And on Twitter, Jay Allen, Alan J, his name, breaking
Alan
my
J,
heart.
yes.
But
yes.
He said that on Twitter, that he looking forward to partying again. And then it was a movie clip from your music video there. Could you comment on that a bit?
Yes, Alan and I did a duet probably 3 years ago now. And actually, you just reminded me, I've been with Energize longer than 2 years, so it's probably been 3 years because Breaking My Heart came out on Energize. And that, in fact, was my first single that I did for Energize, which was a duet with Alan. And I've never done a duet with anyone ever. So it was an honor because I think Alan is a very talented, good-looking young man. And I love his voice. And that's the reason I agreed to do that song with him.
It was released in 2016.
Yeah. 2016?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Wow. 4 years ago.
Time flies. Yeah, and I saw some video clip that you and Alan did at Energize Records, some party or something like that, and that was in 2017.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's right.
As I say again, I mean, you never know. I mean, again, who the rights and who it's coming from. So that's why I will include in the show notes the official ones and link. And then, of course, people are free to search for themselves and see what they find.
Yes.
But that's the thing. It's a jungle out there to find the real stuff.
It's a jungle.
Yeah. So
indeed.
And then sometimes you have to fly away. You said, Jonathan, that your favorites on this new single and the song. Do you have any other favorites of Rosalla's huge collection here of songs? Do you know, Rozalla, how many songs you have done through the years?
No, I don't. I don't. I've never counted them. No.
Yeah. Could you so-called again focus on the positive things? But I mean, with authors and others, if you have worked lots of it, it could be when they are finished and published, when they are, it's a bit enough, so to speak. But is it any song that you said about this happening in the situation that everybody's free and so on? Maybe that's not the right thing right now. We should be free, but right now we are. I mean, things are happening, and we could have opinions about that. But is it any song that still stick with you, or some that have been your favorites over the years, or is it that every new song is a new chapter, so to speak?
Yeah, every new song is a new chapter. Every old song is a memory of what I did by having the opportunity of working with producers, with songwriters, and meeting people. And the process for me is always one that is exciting. I love working with new producers. I love working with songwriters I've never heard of. I love getting demo songs and listening to them and thinking, how could I sing that with my kind of voice and stuff like that. So every song that I've recorded over the years always has a special meaning for me, because it takes me back to where I recorded it, who I recorded it with, who wrote it. Like one of the songs I'm thinking of, I did when I was signed to Sony for an album called Look No Further. I did a song which was written for me by Diane Warren. And in my opinion, she's one of the world's greatest songwriters, because if you listen to her extensive songwriting collection, she's written for artists that do completely hardcore rock songs to Celine Dion. And I had the opportunity of, working with her, and she wrote the title track, Look No Further. So I got flown to Los Angeles and I worked with her. I got to meet her and her producers, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And she was a lovely lady.
That's great to hear, and to get some insights about what's going on in the music industry. So what's your anything regarding your future plans?
Well, obviously, like I said, I've got the album where Magnificent has just been released from. We've got quite a few songs that we've already finished doing. We had one more song left to record, so I guess that'll happen when lockdown is lifted and we're able to, circulate a bit more freely. But they're currently all been remixed. I've got a few back. I've got couple of songs that have been mixed and have sent back to me, and I love how the album is taking place. Gary and I are both very happy. So that's what I'm doing. And of course, to continue performing live for my audience, my fans. And it's something that I still love doing. So, yeah.
That's great. And I have to ask you about, because I saw that Jonathan was label you as the Queen of Rave. Could you tell about that title? How you acquired that?
Well, that came out in the early 90s because of Everybody's Free, Faith in the Power of Love, Are You Ready to Fly? And one morning I woke up to read the newspapers and I was being hailed as a Queen of Rave, which I thought, well, okay, I'll take that title. And I guess in the early 90s, the music was known as the rave scene. But the reason I believe they called me the Queen of Rave was they said I was one of the first artists to actually put lyrics and verses to a song rather than it being a one-liner being sung over and over and over again. I actually had structured songs, so therefore the title Queen of Rave came about.
I don't think anybody would ever take that title away from you either. Just like nobody would take...
They tried, Jonathan will sort them.
Yeah, just like nobody would take Diva Doll away from me.
I
That's
like
good.
that.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Martin.
Now.
Sorry, I was just going to say my other favourite track. I didn't get a chance to answer it. It was "You'll Never Love the Same Way Twice." That's my favourite.
Oh yes, that's also from the Sony album of Look No Further. Yeah.
That's great. So listen to that, and as I did a playlist on your latest song, and I will then add it more songs later on, because that's interesting to see how that's working. Especially Spotify is very good at that. I have a friend that is a musician, and they had that for their band to grow audience, and also to get on other lists. And also that what I liked, that's how the thing with James Knight was, that I liked something, and then he reached out to me and we became friends on Facebook, and the rest is history, so to speak. So it's interesting. Back in the day, you went to the record shop, and the guy or the girl behind the store where they said, you are interested in that kind of music, or have you bought this song or something like that. So it was word of mouth in a way, and now it's with the new way of doing it in a way. So that's great.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah. And we'll end in a bit fun. Yeah,
I was just going to say, I can remember when I was younger going into HMV, and they had specific standing points where you.
His master's voice. Yeah.
You could pick a CD off of a shelf, and then ask the assistant to like open it for you. You could put it on and you could listen to it to decide whether or not you wanted to buy it or not. You don't have that anymore.
Yep.
No.
But that's how
It's gone.
that's how I did it. I mean, in a way, I'm getting a bit sad, but I am for the market also. So that's how when things change, and that's for example
you just
what
gotta evolve. You just gotta evolve.
But
and
I
move with
remember that
time.
standing in, especially around Christmas time, standing in line in order to pay because it was so many people there. And then, as you said, Jonathan, you took certain records without the CD in it, and then you went to this booth and then asked, "Could I listen to this?" And then they said, "Okay, do you want to listen to this next song?" Because then it was you had maybe one song that you were interested in, but then you wanted to listen to the rest of the album and see if you want to buy the whole album or if you want to find a single or something like that. So it's not that way anymore. But on the other hand, you could do it now with your own mixes or listings or top lists and recommendations that you couldn't do in the past. So it's a fascinating development.
It is.
And,
it is. Everything obviously has evolved for the better, but it is still nice to have retro thing as well to like relive from the past. And as I was saying, into the record store and listening to the track to see whether you like it was one thing, and then on the other hand, you had like stores like Woolworths and things like that who had their own charts away from HMV, and you went in specifically to buy a copy where there were different mixes and things like that on a cassette and stuff, and you'd like wind the cassette with your pencil to listen to the track. I miss all that. I really do.
Yeah, the mixtape.
Yes,
that was the thing to put things on the tape. Yeah. So good old days. So I have to ask you now here as an ending. Of course, if you have anything else, you have to plug that for where you are in the cyberspace and interwebs. But I have to ask you: are you drinking tea? Do you drink tea?
Oh, I love tea. I love tea. Yeah, I love tea.
Is it that you now when you are in England, or is it already from your youth when you're coming from Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, Zambia?
It was already in my youth. I loved tea from a young child. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
And you, Jonathan?
Yes.
Do you drink tea?
Yes, I do drink tea. I like fruit teas actually as well.
Yeah. Oh, I like those too.
There's quite a lot of various flavors at the moment. I'm drinking like I think a blackberry tea or something like that, which is quite refreshing.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because I have to ask, because I've written a book about tea, and I have a podcast with a co-host in Swedish about tea, and also an international one. And it's also, I have to know what to bring to the party when we will meet someday. And when we could listen to your great music and see you dancing, Rozalla, and so on.
Yes.
And then I will bring a perfect.
Make sure you have some
cuppa.
English breakfast tea, please. A perfect cuppa.
Builder's tea.
Yeah. I will do that. So please tell the listeners where they could find you on the interwebs.
Yes, the listeners can find Rozalla on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
That's great. And Jonathan, do you have anything to add?
Yep. Also, the fan pages are also on Twitter and Facebook as well. Rozalla Music Fans.
Yeah. And maybe as I know, it's lots of work in this, but maybe it could be some idea to find some, as I said, I'm working on that myself, so that's why I could say it on my so-called last page called teaparty.media. And I want to put everything together, what I'm doing as a new media advisor, my interest in tea, podcasting, and so on. Because that could be found on like when you do searches. Because for example, on the Google searches there, as an end, one of the bottom list there on the first page, it was a site called Talk About Pop Music. Where are they now? And that was listening from 2018, and they have written a bio about you, Rozalla. Yeah. So if you would start your in the future as a recommendation, like with a blog or something like that, and starting
Yes.
writing, because you have a story, you have a career, and all this
Yes.
storytelling
Yes.
about all things. If you could populate that with your content, and you, of course, Jonathan will be probably help with that.
Definitely. In fact, you just given me an idea.
Now's the right
Jay, you need to
time.
set up my website.
Now is the right time. We're in lockdown. Get that biography started.
And this is on tape now also, and of course I could help you out in a way or another if you want.
Thank
also.
you.
Yeah, but I think it's important because it was great, because it was you, Jonathan, that reached out as again.
Yes.
Repeat that and in a nice way, because you are active on the social platforms, as I said, in a friendly way.
Very positive and very positive.
Yeah, positive. And that's how it's working. Then of course it's how people, when they are searching, and that's what you sometimes you can't control it. But if you create your great content that's related to what you're doing, then you will get that picture. And that's why I have this segment called Ego Search or Ego Surfing on your name and it could be a good exercise to do. So thanks again. So for your time, and it was nice to have this chat. And we'll, as I said, include your list and songs in the show notes, and we will. We will talk soon again. So
we'll talk again, Martin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rozalla, and thanks, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
You take care, and Jay, we'll speak soon.
Yes, definitely. Love you. Bye.